Welcome back. Now to our first conversation. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, has charged the nation's financial market experts to collaborate with government with a view to tackling Nigeria's housing problem. But this also brings to mind the issue with Evergrande, the Chinese property development company struggling to deal with debt it has accumulated over the years. What pitfalls should developers in Nigeria avoid, and what housing scheme can close the deficit gap in the sector? That's if there's one. Well, a real estate developer and president and GMD Beastown Group, Dr. Becky Olubukola, joins us now. Good morning. Great to have you on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
So economic experts say the housing deficit in Nigeria is estimated between 18 to 22 million housing units. Meanwhile, the Minister of Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, says there's no housing deficit in the country. What's your perspective on that?
Of course, everybody knows that the housing deficit in the country is large, is increasing per second as much as our economy is increasing. So we can't say there's no deficit in the country when we have homelessness across every state. IDP camp is increasing per second. Insurgency is not slowing down. This is rainy season and the states within the river basins are getting flooded every day. So of course there's deficit. It's increasing. We in the industry knows how badly the citizens of this nation needs an affordable home, not just luxury, because luxury is relative. Is a man who has finished eating that will think of luxury. A man who is hungry, who is looking for a shelter, a basic shelter, is not thinking of luxury at this point. So for me, the deficit is increasing and we really need to do something about it. Both the private sector, we in the industry, and of course the government needs to really think about a solution and how we can bridge that gap as fast as possible.
Yeah, just before you talk about the solution, I think one of the scenarios that come to mind when we hear the minister saying there's no deficit is, for instance, here in Lagos, if you go to the island, you see a lot of houses that are just there, not occupied. So if we say that there's a housing deficit, why are those houses not occupied?
Thank you. You see, for me, the real estate sector is divided into two or three. There's the affordable sector, which is where we belong in Beastown Group. Because for me, 75% of Nigerians require a basic home. It is the rest of the 20%, 25% that can say they have a good home. There's the luxury part and there's the middle class. If the government is talking about deficit, then we should be concentrating on the affordable part of this sector, which is where the growth is, which is where the development, the economy building, which is where it is. That's why you see the developed country looks into social homes, poor people's homes, because these people makes majority of the population. When there's a growth in the nation, it's from there. And when there's a problem in any sector, especially the housing sector, it is also from there. People that build and people are not living there, they are running business. We cannot compare our economy with those who are running business. They are in the business of selling luxury houses. If their houses are not selling, it is their loss. But if the government is thinking about bridging this gap, we cannot use that as a yardstick to talk about affordability and housing sector and the growth of the sector. Looking at the statistics of people who need home, you will know that what the government needs to do is to partner with organizations, of course, like Beastown Group and many other organizations that are in affordable sector to provide affordable home, basic affordable home for the people of this nation. The movement of people from the rural areas to metropolis is increasing every day. Inflation is increasing. Our forex, of course, you can see, dollar to naira is falling every day, and this has caused inflation in the market. It has made it more difficult for people to actually afford these homes. This is where subsidy comes in. This is where the bridge in question comes in. This is where the government is needed, because even those people who are building houses can no longer build the kind of houses people can afford, because the cost of materials has increased in the market. But when the government can come in through the mortgage banks, equip the mortgage bank, equip the developers, and come about PPP, where the public-private partnership comes in and help us to bridge this gap, then we will be able to provide the kind of houses that people can afford.
Okay.
And then that is where, okay, go ahead.
All right, but looking at Lagos now, it seems like for you to be able to, situate these affordable homes, you have to go, to the outskirts. What do you think about that?
That's where infrastructure comes in. You see, we need to look at the concept we call the metro city concept. For us, we came up with this initiative. It's called the Metro Shelter. The Metro Shelter concept developed by Bistan Group is helping to bridge that gap, reducing those rural areas, making them an urban area. When there's a good infrastructure development, good amenities, people will not mind to live anywhere. When there's a good road network, there's waterway network where people can use the waterway, like Lagos State. You have water surrounding Lagos State. That's a very good means of moving around the city. We should think about rails within the city. With this in mind, people will not mind to live anywhere to go to their offices. The government needs to reduce the offices, the government agencies within the metro city and decentralize it and take it to the rural area. Develop those areas you call outskirts. Develop those areas so that everywhere becomes a city. Even your rural area no longer become a rural area, it becomes a city. Because this is actually where people can actually get a good affordable homes to build. In Abuja, as we speak, we have over 12 projects going on. And we are trying to develop those areas to turn them to a city. In Lagos, we have 6 projects going on. And we are trying to look at Ekpe, for example. Ekpe is no longer a village. Ekpe is a big town. And then that's what can happen in Ikorodu, in other areas like that. Badagry, people can live in. Everybody doesn't have to live in Lekki. We don't have to live in GRA Ikeja. Everybody can live in every environment if we have good infrastructure development. Okay. When there's a good infrastructure development within the city, people will not mind to live anywhere.
All right, so you talked about
our ministers need to look into this. Fashola needs to look at how we can decentralize the city and make everywhere a town. Everywhere can be a metro center. Our National House Fair events going on is about bridging that gap. When we bridge this gap, people will be able to live anywhere.
All right, Dr. Becky. You talked about mortgage the other time, and when we look at the ratio of mortgage finance to the GDP in Nigeria, it's only about 0.5%. Meanwhile, in South Africa, it's 31%. In Ghana, it's 2%. Botswana, it's even higher. Well, is there a way to boost this percentage so that, among other ways, we can also use mortgage to bridge these deficits?
Thank you. Mortgage system is a great tool in achieving metro shelter concept that we are talking about. But the mortgage system needs to be equipped. We need to fund our mortgage system. And when this mortgage system is fully funded, because the demand is higher than the supply, people are actually going for mortgage every day, but they don't have the fund. They don't have that enough fund, to support the citizen, to support the people to be able to access the mortgage. Because you can only give what you have. Even the Federal Mortgage Bank is only trying. The demand is way higher than the supply. People demand for houses in hundreds of billions, and they can only give what they have. So, but this is where we have our government coming in. The Federal Mortgage Bank needs to be well equipped and funded. The other mortgage bank, the private mortgage banks need to be well equipped and funded. Then the civil servants across the nation need to be given priority to be able to access mortgages, because these are the people doing the work. When these people are given enough opportunity to access mortgage banks and they are able to get mortgages, you will see that the ratio will increase. You will see that the GDP of the nation, that the housing sector have the capacity to provide, will also increase. Right now, the housing sector is not putting so much yet into the GDP and the economy nation because it is not equipped properly. We need that equipment through the funding, through enough funding to the mortgage bank, through enough funding to into the developing sector, the housing sector, the private. We need to be able to access development fund. Most developers these days, you have to go look for fund at double digits. When you look for fund at double digits, how do you sell affordable? You see, the issues are enormous.
Right.
We need to look at the policies that guide the mortgage bank, and they need to equip that policy. A lot of amendment needs to be made in the Land Use Act. A lot of amendment need to be made in the mortgage act. Several of these things, the 8th Assembly started it, but they didn't finish all these laws. We are looking at 9th Assembly being able to pass some of these laws in place so that you will see investors coming into the housing sector of this country and coming into the mortgage sector and see how they can equip our mortgage banks.
Okay.
See, the federal government cannot do this thing alone.
Okay.
There's a need for us to collaborate all the time.
Right. So we see a lot of, developers advertise houses at, various stages of development. Some, shell units. How accessible are these packages to an average Nigerian?
Okay, I'm going to talk strictly about how we do ours. For Bristol Homes, our projects are in different sectors. You see, people try to sell to citizens what they can afford. We sell plots of land for people so that they can build gradually. We also sell finished products, that's finished houses, for people to also buy and pay. We have mortgage arrangement, internal mortgage arrangement that spread up to 7 years.
But
Okay, so that we can cushion the effect of,
How accessible are these? I mean, I know that you do that and a lot of people, but it's not just about it being available, because we see a lot of them. Well, how can an average Nigerian get this thing? How can they pay for it? Do they have an installmental payment? Do they have a bank they can reach out to? Do you have data, that can give you the confidence to allow these people to say, okay, you can move into the house and then later on you can pay and stuff like that?
Pay gradually. Yes, it's quite accessible actually. And we have some mortgage banks that cushion this and helps them to access it. At the same time, we have the internal mortgage arrangement that gives them instrumental payments. So people can pay gradually on monthly basis. We even have a scheme called the trader scheme and the civil servant scheme, where they can pay on monthly basis and pay every quarter or yearly. And they can pay as long as 5, 6, 7 years. And at the same time, we also partner with about 4 different mortgage banks, and we help our citizens, our friends, and help the clients and customers to access this project. You see, National House Fair is always an avenue for people to get this information.
Yeah.
National House Fair helps them to get the information and help them to access it on the go.
Okay, all right.
They are able to access this project on the go immediately.
It's almost time for a break now, but we'd just like to get your opinion on this. I'm sure you've heard of the story of Evergrande, which is going on around the world now, affecting majorly real estate. And, they kept on borrowing money to develop houses, and now they are in a huge debt. As a developer, what lessons would you say you're learning from the story of Evergrande?
You see, as a developer, I've learned never to borrow money that you cannot pay back. Don't borrow money you cannot pay back. Don't put money into a project that you are not seeing the end. You have to see the end of every project before you go into the end. You have to have an off-takers that are ready to off-take those projects before you even go into this loan. A lot of our colleagues go into several loans and eventually it shrinks their project and shrinks the organization. Don't expose your organization. Do not expose your business. We don't do it. We only go into project when there's off-taker or when we can see to the end of this project. And I'm advising everyone in the business as well. The state of the economy right now, we are only praying for the best. The dollar rate to Naira is crazy. It's not a time to start going into luxury because you might not have people to buy. Go into affordable homes. Go into affordable projects that citizens can afford. And please, let us build what people can access. Exactly. Let's make the information out there. Let's help this country and let's reduce the deficit by providing a metro shelter project across the country.
Thank you.
Affordable homes all the time.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Dr. Becky Olubukola, the Group Managing Director.
Thank you so much for having me.
And enjoy your weekend. It's a Friday. Enjoy your weekend.
God bless you.